Hello everybody, I am Shoptarshi. Welcome to my channel. This is the third time I'm recording this because the first time was a bit messy. The second time was entirely too robotic. This time I'm going to keep it also too long. Both of the recordings were too long. This time I am going to keep it short-ish. And what we are doing here is we are going to take a look at how I made the seamlessly looping logo animation for my own personal logo that you see on the screen. So let's get into it. The first thing that we need to check out is the design of the logo, the actual design of the logo. This is the entire process. This is not the final logo, obviously. This is the final logo. I made some changes to this thing, but this is the evolution. These are all the ideas I explored and rejected before coming to this thing. And there are a few more steps that I'm skipping here. Basically, there are other files that have me experimenting with the look and the colors of the logo. And that is something that you're not seeing. But this is the final logo on light and dark backgrounds. And this is something we export as an SVG file because we import this in Blender. So the first step, obviously, make the logo. Then you come into Blender, go to File, Import, and import the SVG version of the logo that you exported from your software, your vector editing software of choice. And that brings in, let me disable the camera. That brings in this collection of all of your curves that you exported as an SVG file, right? Then you just adjust the position of these, and then you go to the curve settings, you extrude it, give it however much depth you want. I didn't want to give it too much depth because I wanted some subsurface scattering shenanigans going on here. So we'll take a look at that in a minute. Let me enable the camera again. And I gave it a little bit of bevel with, is this the default resolution? It seems to be the default resolution. It's fine, like it's a very small amount of bevel as you can see. And all that does is that when the light hits it, it creates those nice specular highlights that we all like to see. That's it for the modeling. The other thing is that there's a background plane that has a graph paper grid kind of a material. Well, it's a simple principle BSDF that has some texture work going on that gives it that graph paper look. That's all it is. It's a simple plane. The modeling is dead simple. If we look at the materials, shading, okay, I'll deal with this in a minute. The materials, so one thing is that when I imported the logo, the SVG file, all of these different things had their own diffuse materials applied to it. I changed that to a principal BSDF, copied over the base color, and the reason for that is, like I mentioned, I wanted some subsurface scattering going on. And for the S, I wanted it to glow and animate the glow. So that's why I needed the principal BSDF. Gave it a little bit of roughness to not make it completely reflective. Not that there's anything to reflect. I just wanted the I just wanted the reflections to be a little bit more rough. Whatever reflections there are in the scene. And the background material is basically this node tree. It is very simple. This is a graph paper pattern that I found through CG Cookie, one of their live streams, and you can probably find this all over the place on the internet if you look for it. It is not that complicated. The Voronoi texture and the color ramp are the dots that sit on the intersection points between the major lines. This brick texture is the major line, This brick texture are the minor lines, and these are all being darkened together, I suppose you could say. Like I think the darken is the only one that the darken setting is the only one that actually worked for getting the specific look that I wanted. The other thing is I did not want the background material to be the background surface to be completely smooth. I wanted it to have some roughness to it, some texture to it. So I took a noise texture, modulated it through a color ramp. This is basically adjusting the maximum and minimum values of the noise texture, and it's also adding some contrast, and that is going into the roughness and the bump, and that gives you that rough kind of a texture that you're looking for, or that I'm looking for, not you. You might be looking for something else, who knows. The other thing I'll mention is that if you notice, the depth, the thickness is going to be the Z dimension. This is not very high, but if you look at the subsurface scattering scale, this is considerably higher than the Z dimension. The reason for that is I wanted it to have that soft, translucent feel to it. It makes it look a little bit more expensive. That's and it looks pleasing to the eye, right? At least it looked pleasing to my eye. Your mileage may vary, but yeah, that's basically what the subsurface scattering is doing. Let's look at the lighting. The lighting is extremely simple. Honestly, the most complicated part was making the logo itself. The rest of it is just fairly straightforward. At least for my logo, at least the way I wanted to animate my logo, it was fairly straightforward. The lighting is just this key light, this main area light. I'll explore that in a minute. The other thing is this HDRI that I got from Polyhaven. This particular HDRI is a cloudy kind of a day. It says Hausdorff meadow, so it is a meadow. It is outdoors. It is cloudy. It casts. It doesn't have any particular light source, and it casts very soft shadows. Actually, it doesn't cast any shadows. It casts. It just fills in the shadows, right? So if I look through this, you will notice that if I disable this, that all it is doing is just filling in the shadows. That's all it is doing. Okay, that's the lighting. Actually, that's not the lighting. Little bit more. This is an area light with a disc that is fairly close to the ground. It is close to the ground because I wanted the shadows to be on the longer side, and the only way to do that for something that is this thin is to get the light very close to the edges, the ground. And the other thing you will notice is that because it is so close to the ground, the bevels that I mentioned, it catches the light very nicely. These highlights make it look very, very nice. Even from this perspective, you can still see the highlights. Okay, maybe a few more things about this. The light has a large size, and the spread, a little bit of spread. If you turn the spread off to 0, it's going to be a completely harsh, sharp. Is that the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean. Like the shadows are not soft, basically. So this was at 14, and just setting it a little higher gives it a very soft fall off. That looks really nice. That is for the lighting. The animation, we need to go to the shading tab first to look at this material. This material we're going to look at first because, oh, also all of the keyframes for everything is hand animated. It is manually keyframed. It is not complicated, but I did want to make this a seamlessly looping animation, so I had to set one keyframe, the starting keyframe at 0, the ending keyframe at 120, and this is the same for everything that is animated in the scene. In the case of the S, it is going around in 4 oscillations, and these oscillations correspond to when the back plates are animating to the center. So the S is at its brightest when the back plates are at the center, when they're all moved in together, right? Like that, when they're all overlapping. And it is completely switched off when the back plates are at the ends of their oscillation. The other thing that I did here is that I took these handles, and this is something that I wanted to specifically point out because I had some issues with it. You go here, select individual centers if you want to scale these up individually instead of going up here somewhere. Where is it? Yeah, instead of going here, there's this button here, and that allows you to individually scale up these handles. And I wanted to scale these up because I wanted the glow to last longer at the peak and then fall off fast, and then come back and last long at the peak and then fall off fast. That's something I wanted. The other thing that is animated, there are 2 other things that are animated. These 3 things, first of all. So if I look at these, all this is at the very beginning, at the 0th frame. These are all at 0 rotation. I'm not going to get into why it is 0 rotation instead of some angle. That is just the way it imported. Yeah, I'm not going to get too much into that. However, what happens is that these go through 2 oscillations in the 120 frames, and at 30 frames, at frame 30 and frame 90, it reaches its peak, which is the other side, oscillating to the other side. And these 3 things are just going from one side to the other and then back again. That's all this is. And because they are offset from each other, because their rotations are offset from each other, this ends up being this ends up looking fairly nice. So if I just play this, oh, right, one thing I forgot to mention. So I've taken all of these handles, literally selecting all of them, going into individual centers, and then I scaled all of them up. And what that basically does is that it makes sure that the ends of the motion are eased in, like slow, and the middle of the motion is fast. So it just gives it a little bit more momentum that looks good to my eyes. Yeah, that looks really nice. The other thing that is animated here is this light. This light is pointing at roughly the center of all of these, and all of these, the logo pieces and everything is at the center is at XY00. Everything is at XY00. This empty is the parent of the light, and the only reason for that is I've animated the rotation of the empty on the Z-axis, and this is the only rotation, and this is the only animation that is linear, once again from 0 to 120, and it is just going 360 degrees to make it a seamless loop. That is about it for the animation. The only other 3 things, I suppose, that are remaining are the let's look at the render settings, because we need to render this at least once. to use the compositing. The render settings, these are my default render settings. I have not, these are the render settings I use for every single scene. My default scene has these render settings. So I haven't changed these. So you can just quickly take a look at these if you really want to. The only one thing that I will point out, I'm using motion blur. The only other thing that I will point out that is of note to any degree is the noise threshold. I use a noise threshold of 0.05. I think the default is 0.01, and that takes too long. Same thing with the max samples and the min samples. If you're using volumetrics in your scene, you will most likely need to drop this back down to 0.01, which is probably why it is set at 0.01 in the first place. I recently did a scene with volumetrics in it, and I was getting flickering all over the place at 0.05, so I needed to adjust that. This scene does not need any of that, so these settings work just fine for this scene. These are my default settings. Okay, let me quickly render a scene. Let me quickly render a frame. Let's say, I think in the past two examples I did frame 72. The compositing is also simple. The glare node is a fog glow node that has appropriate settings that look good to my eyes, and the only reason this is here is for the glowing S. Then there's a lens distortion and vignette. These are for putting the focus away from the sides and into the center. The lens distortion does that. It distorts the edges, makes it a little bit more blurry, but keeps the center the same. And the vignette adds some darkening around the edges and keeps the center the same. And the settings are going to depend on what you want. And that's about it. The reason, let's take a look at the camera, and I'll tell you the reason why I had to do those last two nodes in the compositing. The simple reason is that this is too flat and there's no depth, so I cannot really use depth of field. Speaking of which, the camera is a default perspective camera at 50 mm with no depth of field. The only thing about it is that it is at XY00 and Z offset. That is far enough to frame the logo thusly. That's about it. That's all there is to this scene. It is not complicated. It is not complicated, but I ended up making this 18 minutes anyway. I didn't even go into a lot of detail about the modeling and all of that, but whatever. I'll leave it at 18 minutes. It's fine. It's fine. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave them in the comment section down below. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. And I'll make a breakdown or a look at another one of my scenes maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks from now. I don't know when, but I think I'll do more of these on YouTube, because just posting the clips, I don't think that is necessarily good for YouTube. I don't know, man. I don't know how this YouTube thing works. I am not a YouTuber, but I do want to share my process. So here we are. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it, and I will see you later. Goodbye.